Good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to announce that I am joined by star referee Ian John Lewis today. Ian, how are you getting on?
Not too bad, thank you, Tom.
Very good, very good. And I know you're a busy man at the minute, Ian. You've obviously got a big fixture coming up this weekend with George Groves, so I guess that's keeping you very busy at present.
It certainly is, plus my daytime job. It's a big show at the weekend, so that's good. We've had one big show with David Hay. That's my first big show of 2016.
Yeah.
And the next one is this Saturday.
Absolutely, so keeping you busy. And Ian, if you don't mind, that was actually something I was keen to ask you about, because I know when we were chatting ahead of this interview, I think it's a bit of a common misconception in boxing that referees are full-time referees, but obviously with yourself, I know that you've got a full-time career as well. So could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, a lot of people don't realise that us referees, when we say to people, "Oh yeah, we've got a daytime job as well," they are really shocked because they think that refereeing is a full-time job. Unfortunately, it's not. We all have to work, unfortunately. And my job, which has surprised a lot of people, I work for Kent Police and I have done for the last 20 years. I'm a civilian. I work in custody. So if you get arrested and you come into police detention, this is where I come involved and book you in and basically take you to your room and look after you.
Absolutely. So, what's it like, Ian, when you're on a Saturday night, you're on a huge stage, and you're refereeing a Vitaly Klitschko or a David Hay or someone like that, and then come Monday morning, you're back to the daily grind. I mean, how do you strike the balance with that?
No, Tom, Tom. It's worse than that.
Is it?
Sometimes I'm refereeing a massive fight, and it could be abroad, it could be in Manchester, Liverpool, Sheffield, and then I'll go to work literally the next morning or that night and come to work. So you get some people that come into custody, maybe a bit drunk, and they see me and they go, "Hang on a minute, you're that boxing referee. I watched you last night and you was in Manchester." And I say, "Yeah, that's right, mate," and it's really a shock from, like you said, the razzmatazz and the nice bright lights and the Sky Sports TV, fantastic too, back to into custody when, "Get me a drink, officer, now. I want a solicitor, now." It's a big difference. And that keeps my feet on the ground.
Absolutely, yeah. I can imagine it's a hard one to juggle. Do you think there's any transferable skills between refereeing and controlling these big heavyweights and trying to keep control of some pretty rowdy inmates or people who've got themselves in a bit of trouble?
I'm glad you said that because it's very, very important, and the roles are very, very similar. It's basically, that's keeping control, and I do get very rarely prisoners that do want to kick off, but thankfully, because I've got a nice calming attitude, and plus I'm quite respectful as well, I manage to sort of keep control, and I'm a big must in Medway custody. It's so important, and like I said, I'll get on with people. I'm a very calm person, and like I said, I use my boxing skills and refereeing skills to good use. So, and obviously vice versa, it helps me when I'm in the ring, because being an ex-fighter as well, I help keep control inside them four ropes. Absolutely.
That makes sense. I can kind of see how the two jobs would marry up quite nicely, actually. Ian, if I may, I'd just like to take you back briefly to your boxing career, because I think most of the modern boxing fans know you, as the referee, obviously. But before that, obviously, you boxed at a very high level yourself as a professional. So would you mind giving us a sort of brief overview of your history as a pro boxer?
Yeah, of course. It's really nice of you to say that, because, as you quite rightly said, I'm an old fossil, and I keep forgetting that. I keep thinking I'm only 28, but I ain't actually. I am 53 years of age, and I had a nice, good amateur career. I had 53 amateur fights. I won 40. I knocked out 26. I think I knocked out.
Okay.
I was Kent champion 5 years on the trot. I was Southern England champion in 1985, which was my best year as an amateur. I decided to turn pro in 1986. Didn't have a very good start. I lost my first two pro fights. Right, but then I pulled it all together, and I won my next 9 on the spin, or the next 10 on the spin, which resulted in a Southern Area title shot. which was Small Hall Fight of the Year against unbeaten Trevor Smith. Unfortunately, I come second. We both put each other on the floor, but he was just stronger than me on the night, and good luck to him, well done, because he went on to fight Kirkland, the legendary Kirkland.
Absolutely.
For the British title. I had another eliminator for the British title against hard punching Mickey Hughes, and after I boxed quite well actually in that fight, because not many people gave me a hope of lasting 3 or 4 rounds. I managed to last into the 9th round when the referee stopped me on a cut eye, but there's more into that later. And then I had one more fight at the Alexandra Palace, the undercard to Nigel Benn against Dan Sherry. Then I lost that fight against Darren Dyer, decided to say, right, that's it now. I retired in 1992.
You retired in 92?
Rated number 6 in the country, I was very proud of.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the most important thing, isn't it? Is to get out of the sport with all your faculties intact, and you don't want to be one of these who carries on too long with it, I guess.
Well, this is it. I mean, I'm glad you hit that point, because I always defend boxing to the hill. I've had a broken nose, I've had 2 broken jaws, I've had various cuts to the eyes, but it's a great sport. It's a very disciplined sport, but you've got to know, because at the end of the day, it is the hurt game. You've got to know when to say that will do. It's wrong when these boxers box on for too long or go on too long. I think it's not so much the money. Some people have got plenty of money. It's that fame and that pat on the back. You're champion of the world, and I think it's why these people just go on a bit too long. But that's their choice.
Absolutely. And when you were coming to the end of your boxing career, Ian, a lot of boxers want to go into the training side, or perhaps sort of managing fighters, etc. In your mind, how quickly was it that you came to the decision you wanted to take a different role and go into the refereeing side of the game?
Well, when I retired in 1992, as you quite rightly said, all boxers, or most boxers, ex-boxers, want to become trainers, and that's exactly what I had in my head, to become a trainer.
Right.
But going back to 1989, this is all in my autobiography, I'm the Referee, which obviously you mentioned that a bit later.
Yeah.
In 1989, George Collins was fighting for the WBC and Commonwealth title welterweight against Gary Jacobs. Now, Gary Jacobs from Scotland was a very, very good fighter. Now, Gary Jacobs needed some sparring, and I was hired for a week to spar with Gary Jacobs, because I was very similar to George Collins, long, tall, and a good boxer. So after a hard session with Gary Jacobs, my then manager, Les Roberts, what a lovely guy, that's who the book's dedicated to, by the way, we was having lunch. Don't forget, this is 1989. We was having lunch, and he said to me, Ian, what do you plan to do when you finish boxing? I said, Les, I'm going to become a trainer, most probably, because, put back what, but people talk to me. But he said to me, no, Ian, I think you should become a boxing referee. And I thought, I never thought of that. Right?
Yeah.
And when he said it, Tom, I pitched myself in the ring as a referee, and I said, you know what? When I retire, I'm going to do that. And he said, well, it's just my opinion. He said, I think you'd be a very good referee, right now. So, and sure enough, in 1992, when I retired, I said to Les, I'll become a referee. And he went, fantastic. He said, once you learn, keep your mouth shut, ears and eyes open, and you never look back. And you'll be going around the country, around the world, and you'll be ringside at big fights. And that man wasn't wrong.
Absolutely. And when you first were making the move to being a referee, did you find you were initially more nervous entering the ring as a boxer, or more nervous entering the ring when you were making your first steps to being a referee within the sport?
It worked both ways. I was scared for both, and I'm still nervous now.
Do you still get nervous now, do you, Ian?
I get very nervous now. Don't worry about that. And when I stop getting nervous, that's the time to say, I don't think I should be doing this anymore. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, what not people don't realise as well is I've been refereeing since 1993. I became a referee in 1993, and I'll never forget when I did my first fight at York Hall. Larry O'Connell said to me, "I tell you what, Ian, as you're new, you could do the very first fight." As I was putting my boots on, you could do the very first fight, and I went, "Thanks for that, Larry." And I thought, "Oh my God!" Well, because what you've got to remember is, I'm used to getting into the ring and to fight, not to walk around.
Yeah.
Right. So what they call, you have to do your homework, which I did. I was going down to my old amateur club, St Mary's Amateur Boxing Club, Chatham, very respected club back in the day.
Right.
Still quite respected now. And I walked the ring. That's what they call it. You walk the ring, you walk the sparring, just to get the feel of what it's like to referee. And I just seemed to be a natural. Not all good fighters can become a good referee. But I was just a very lucky guy. I was just a bit of a natural to it, and I took to it like duck taste to water.
Absolutely. And I mean, what we get in the sport, obviously, there's a lot of people who sit at home watching it on the TV, myself included, and everyone's got an opinion. Everyone thinks that they could do the job as a boxing trainer or as a boxing referee. But do you think having that background, both as an amateur boxer and also as a professional boxer, do you think that background allows you to see things in a ring to make a decision on a fight that the average fan on the sofa is probably not picking up on?
Without a doubt, it definitely helps that you've been an ex-fighter as a referee, but also as well, us referees, we're trained to look out for certain things, and unfortunately, that's what the paying public doesn't understand. They're just watching the fight one-dimensional. We're looking at it basically like 360-degree dimensional, whatever they call it. We're looking at it for everything, and obviously the safety is first, is paramount, and it's a tough sport, a very hard sport, but a very competitive sport, and you've got to give these people a chance, because this is their livelihood, this is their one big opportunity to that one fight can change them, from a champion to a non-champion. And I'll try to give them every opportunity as possible. But like I said, you can only do on what you see. You can only react on what you see.
Absolutely. I guess that leads me on quite nicely to another question, Ian. So I'm correct in thinking you were the referee for Vitaly Klitschko versus Let's Go champ, Mr. Briggs himself. Am I right in that?
You said he was the biggest fight of my life.
Absolutely, yeah. Now that fight obviously went the 12-round distance. I guess you could say on the scorecards it was a fairly one-sided fight. Is it a situation where if that had been a smaller fight of less magnitude, perhaps the referee, whether that be yourself or anyone else, would have stepped in, but because it was on such a big platform, because it was the biggest opportunity for the guys involved, and the World Heavyweight Championship, you're more inclined to let a fight like that go the full distance? I mean, is that the case?
Well, you say that, it's listen, Briggs fought his heart out there, and he gave him a beat, and he never once looked back. He was very, in fact, he fought, like I said, a very tough fight. I mean, apparently, no one knew, but after I think the third round, he hurt his shoulder, his left shoulder or something. So hence that stopped him throwing big left hooks. I think that's what he was. He couldn't do that so much. And also, and Klitschko, who's a very, very shrewd and very educated guy, he knew that Shannon Briggs had the equaliser. He knew he had punching power. So, and that's what surprised me. I thought that that Klitschko would have upped the pace a little bit when he hurt him a couple of times, but he never stopped Briggs coming forward. And regarding if all the while the man wants to fight and we still cut the fighting, you've got to let him go. You've got to let him fight.
Absolutely.
I mean, the only time that it did look a bit. Maybe I could have stepped in was at the end of the 10th round. But as I was thinking it, the bell went. And what people don't realise is I actually went to the corner and had a chat with Briggs, and he was so adamant about, man, I'll continue this fight. I want to fight. His corner also said as well. They said, no, we can help. And I thought, that's good enough for me. Carry on.
Absolutely. I mean, he's one of the great characters of the sport. I know he gets a lot of stick now when he's chasing Vladimir around, but he's a great guy to have in the sport.
Yeah, I mean, he's let himself down a bit there, Sean Briggs. I mean, that's a bit silly that he's there.
Yeah.
I mean, if he wants to get back into title contention, basically he needs to knock out a few people and then get himself back up that way. That's the way to go forward. Not handing these champions. I mean, I'm a bit surprised about that because when I saw Briggs at the weigh-in for that fight, I wanted to see what Briggs turned up, and when he turned up in absolutely magnificent shape,
yeah.
I knew he'd come to win. You've got to remember, this was America's last stab of the heavyweight championship of the world, because it had been dominated by Europeans, i.e. the Klitschko's.
Yeah.
And this was the Americans' last chance of getting the heavyweight championship of the world back.
Absolutely. It was a very, very big fight back when it was going down. Certainly. I mean, Ian, you've obviously refereed in some very, very big fights. That's one of them. I know you've refereed David Hay, Audley Harrison. Some real big names as well.
Ricky Hatton as well.
Ricky, who did you referee Ricky Hatton against?
Ricky Hatton, I refereed him twice. It was
Joe
Hopkinson the first time.
Nice.
A very awkward southpaw that Ricky knocked out in the fourth round.
Okay.
And then he had his biggest test to that date at that time. He fought Vince Phillips.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, which was going live to America, and now Vince Phillips, if you remember, was the one that knocked out Costa Zoo with a big upset a few years ago. And I was amazed because when I was refereeing this fight, I was walking around thinking, this guy is only a couple of years younger than me, and he's just giving Britain's top prospect a hard tussle. That
was a big look, like sort of dragging him into deep waters. That fight, was it?
He certainly did, and Ricky Hatton was a very, very good fighter. Yeah, I was very impressed with Ricky.
Absolutely. Is there anyone in the past from the domestic scene or internationally who maybe is now retired from the sport who you wish you could have refereed if the chance had come up again?
I'd love to referee Joe Kawasaki. I thought he was a very good fighter. I mean, look at the fights he's had. And look at his nose. He's got a straight nose.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And unbeaten since he was a young boy. And to win 3 ABA titles at 3 different ways is just absolutely extraordinary.
Absolutely.
So, he's one that got away. And obviously, Prince Nassim Hamid, I'd love to referee him. I mean, but he was a world champion when I was just sort of going through the grades. So, I mean, what an amazing little fighter he was. He brought a lot of excitement to the table.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Joe Calzaghe, for me, he's the greatest British boxer of all time. Those achievements and some of the big fights. Looking back at it, I think that Calzaghe Jeff Lacey fight is probably my favourite fight of all time. Just some of the things he was doing in there were so advanced. So there was.
I watched that on the telly, and that was absolutely a masterclass. That was absolutely amazing. He just, he took that guy apart. Unbelievable. Absolutely. So, I guess moving forward, Ian, I'm keen to hear about your sort of ambitions for the future, both within boxing, refereeing, and sort of elsewhere. Where do you, what do you see your concentration being in the next couple of years? What's the focus for yourself? Well, I can't believe that, and I like to say this to people that I can't believe how my life's mapped out. It's been absolutely amazing. I come from a poor background, and I just cannot believe that I'm not only am I just going around the country, which I love, right, but going around the world is just absolutely amazing. I really can't believe it. And, by the way, what I should have said earlier is that I'm Britain's first black international boxing referee, which is something I'm very, very proud of. And also, regarding the heavyweight championship of the world, I was only the 5th British official to ever officiate the heavyweight championship of the world.
Really? So, I didn't know that. Yeah.
So these goals, these things I'm setting, I just can't believe it. It's just absolutely amazing. And also, my little goals are now is to hopefully be the first perhaps British referee to ever referee the heavyweight championship of the world twice. I mean, hopefully, I might get it again. I don't know. I mean, I'm young enough.
Absolutely.
And that would be. Because also I have refereed the oldest world champion to date, and that's Bernard the Executioner Hopkins, who won the world title at 46, and I don't think that will be ever beaten. 46 when he beat Jean Pascal in Montreal, Canada.
Pascal, yeah. Was that the fight where Pascal put him down early?
No.
It was the rematch, was it?
Yeah, it's a rematch.
Yeah,
It's a rematch.
yeah.
When in round 7, the famous when I had to call a timeout while they were fixing Pascal's gloves, and I heard the crowd laughing. I thought, what are they laughing at? And I couldn't see Hopkins. I thought, where's Hopkins? And he was on the floor doing press-ups.
What did you guys say to Bernard? Because you went and had a word with him, didn't you? Tell him off a bit.
No, well, I just couldn't believe what he was doing. I just couldn't believe it. And that was amazing. But it was all mind games. It was mind games. That's what he's done, mind games.
He's a master of that, isn't he? He's an absolute master. Yeah, sounds good, Ian. And the other thing that I was keen to mention, obviously you had the autobiography come out relatively recently, I Am the Referee, as you mentioned. Now, we're going to run a competition on the YouTube channel to win a signed copy of Ian's book, I Am the Referee. There is also going to be a link underneath this video to Ian's website, which will have more details on the book. But to the people who are listening, Ian, could you just give us a sort of brief run through of the book and, how it's been for you so far and, what to look out for in there, really?
Well, firstly, what can I say? I mean, that's another good thing. I mean, to have a book written about you. I mean, how many people have a book written about their life? I mean, that is another thing that's absolutely amazing. And it's been written ever so well by Mark Heffernan, who's the Kent Police Force physio. And he's done an amazing job writing about my life. And honestly, people out there, you will see, all about where I've come from, how I've come from, all the hard things I've had to go through. Because, being in the 60s, black weren't beautiful in the 60s. So I had to do a lot of fighting to get respect in a very rough white estate. But it mentions all about my amateur career, how I got into boxing. Because, listen, I didn't want to be a boxer. I didn't want to get punched. But I did, and I absolutely love it. And I can't believe I'm still involved in the sport today. I started boxing at 15. And then obviously, I've got a lovely wife, I've got a lovely daughter who just gave me a grandson just before Christmas.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it makes you feel old. And then I've been working for Kent Police for 20 years, so there's some very interesting stories about Medway custody. And like I said, then you mentioned about my refereeing career. I've had some cracking fights, I've been to some amazing places. And, it might continue. It's just absolutely amazing. And please, it's a fantastic read. All I'll ask you is when you look at the website, just look at the reviews on Amazon or my website. They're fantastic.
You've had a sort of real positive reception to it, have you?
Oh, certainly have. I mean, we've sold just over 2,000 copies. It's been out for 1 year at the moment, and I'm just absolutely... I'm flabbergasted. I'm just so grateful, and I am a people's person, and that's why quite locally I have actually delivered books, personally, and they just couldn't believe when they opened the door and see me standing there. They're like, wow, it's, and that's what I am though. And that's what I haven't changed. I never will change. I'm a nice guy, and I'm a very respectable guy, and I love boxing. I love boxing, and I keep myself fit as well. That's the most important thing as well, Tom. The sport that's made me somebody, it's a very hard sport to keep training. I still train quite hard now, and I think it's very important, as in life, but as a referee, to keep fit.
Absolutely, because I can imagine some of them 12-rounders when you're under the lights. It's probably quite physically draining, isn't it?
Yes, them TV lights are very draining. Listen, I ain't throwing their punches.
Absolutely. I guess if you've got two big heavyweights in there and you're having to separate them and get in between them and stuff, that's probably, you keep your eye in as well, I guess.
The most intimidating place I refereed Oliver McCall against Simil Sand, who unfortunately passed away last month.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, the Turkish heavyweight. And it was a grueling 12-rounder, and the heat was absolutely amazing. And I was like, wow, good job I'm fit, because I'm feeling this, and I'm a fit guy.
Does the old footwork help you stay out of the way if some of these boxers are throwing any wide punches that could come your way unintentionally?
Yeah, well, obviously the boxing experience helps, because obviously I anticipate where they're moving. And the only person that accidentally clumped me was Anthony Joshua.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, on his pro day, but he accidentally clumped me on top of the head like that. It did hurt, but I tried to make out it didn't, you know.
So you're the only guy who hasn't been knocked out by Anthony Joshua so far, Ian. That's,
Yeah, thank God for that.
that was the Emanuele Leo fight, wasn't it?
That certainly was, yeah.
Yeah.
Very proud to referee, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, wouldn't that? I know you're talking about getting another world title fight. Wouldn't it be amazing if you refereed Joshua on his pro debut, and then you got to referee him again in a world title fight, especially if it was against Tyson Fury or David Haye, sort of a totally British class. I mean, would that's got to be up there for yourself if something like that could come true, I guess.
Well, I'll be in the mix. That's all I can say, and that would be absolutely amazing. So that's all you can say. But yeah, I'll be in the mix. Of course, I would be. I'm one of the top referees. So that'd be a great honour, absolute honour.
Absolutely. No, it sounds like it's exciting times for the sport in Britain at present.
Let me tell you, Tom. At the moment, British boxing is absolutely booming. I mean, we have 12 world champions. That's just amazing, and they're all cracking little fighters. And boxing's fantastic. It's absolutely going great guns, and I'm just loving it being in the mix. All us referees were so, going around the country, all these big shows, big fights. It's absolutely brilliant, and we're all loving it.
What's your favourite venue to referee in?
I do like your call.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've boxed there twice, which is fantastic, and that is the mecca of British boxing. Your call, Bethel.
Absolutely, yeah.
What an atmosphere. You get that packed out, that is so intimidating, and it's such a fantastic. And you've got a bad seat in the hall.
No, absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, do you get up for the, if it's a York Hall bill for you, is that as exciting, and does it get the blood flowing just as much as if you're doing a 20,000 seater stadium?
Yeah, you're spot on. I mean, it doesn't matter where you referee. Sometimes you can referee in a little leisure centre, and you look around and there's no cameras, because obviously it's not a massive fight, whatever, right? And then you've got other shows where, like I said, the O2. Now the O2, actually, I want to say that's another lovely place that's starting to make big noise, and it's a lovely venue, easy to get to, great parking, and it's a fantastic venue. But like I said, then you look around and you see all the cameras, all the for the TV and for the photographers for the newspapers, and you just think, wow. But no, I get the same nerves if it's a small fight or a massive fight, and it's good because once you get them nerves, that means you're very alert, you're very focused, and when the bell goes, ding, that's it, I'm away. All the nerves are gone then, and I'm autopilot. Absolutely,
and it's kind of an instinctive thing, is it for you? It kind of kicks in.
It certainly is, yeah, it certainly is, and and we, us British referees, we have such a tough apprenticeship, and that's why we're well schooled. We're very schooled referees, us British referees.
Absolutely, yeah. We got some of the best referees in the game, and
we certainly have.
People are critical of our referees sometimes, but you know what? Whenever I watch the big fight cards in the US, some of the stuff that goes on, internationally, and I'm not going to criticise anyone in particular because it's not my style, but some of the stuff that goes on, you wouldn't really see it happening in Britain. Let's put it that way. We've got high standards over here, I guess, which ties in with what you're saying with the hard apprenticeship, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's very important. And the British Boxing Board of Control, without a doubt, they're the best in the world. The medics, we've got great medics, got great doctors. And as soon as there's a bang, they're in there. You bang in and out, and second to none. It's been fantastic.
Brilliant stuff. Ian, I'm conscious I've taken up a good chunk of your time this afternoon.
You've asked some very nice questions. It's good.
I appreciate that. No, really, really interesting, and it's so nice to have an insight from somebody who brings a real different perspective to the sport. There's a lot of interviews out there with fighters and managers and promoters.
That's right.
Yeah, but I guess you're kind of viewing it from a different set of eyes. So it's really good for the fans to hear, and I guess that ties in nicely with your book. Obviously, that is going to be a very different perspective on the sport to a lot of the other boxing books that are out there.
That's right. That's what I'm hoping that people they just see a different perspective. You know, they're hearing the official side. You know, that's actually been there. You know, there's been for there's the blood, sweat, and tears. You know, like I said, there are 53 amateur fights, about 20 pro fights, and you know, it is a hard sport, but it is a great sport, and it gives people like me an opportunity to be somebody. I mean, you know, like I said, I come from a rough estate. A lot of these boxers come from rough estates, right? And they want to be someone and do something for themselves. You know, get these kids off the streets. You know, and that's what I try and do. I mean, the amount of people it is in the book that the amount of people that I managed to talk and get out of crime and into sport and into boxing and just change their life around. There's been hundreds of them over the 20 years, and lots of them have always thanked me. I see them there with their little kids, and they say, "Do you remember me?" I went, "I remember you. I remember you, all right? You was a little shit." You know? But they've turned their life around through sport, or just basically having someone that's someone's got a little bit of clout behind them. You know, obviously because they see on the TV and they think, "Well, this bloke's talking to me." You know, he's sitting down in my cell and he's actually having a good conversation with me, and you know, and that goes a long way, and I've helped a lot of people, and I will keep on doing it.
That's really good to hear, Ian. And you know, I really look forward to reading about it in more detail. And no, thank you so much for coming on to the Boxing Gossip channel and for chatting this through with us. You know, real pleasure to have you on. And I'm going to cut the recording off now. But once again, thanks so much, Ian.
Thank you, Tom.